Good morning, everyone. I'm Nick Bland, Deputy Director for Equality and Inclusion in the Scottish Government. I'm delighted to be speaking at this National Summit, but really very sorry not to be joining you live today. Unfortunately, a long-standing diary commitment prevents me doing so, but I did not want to miss the opportunity to make a contribution, and so I'm speaking through this pre-recorded message instead. I hope that you find this opportunity today at the Summit valuable. It's so positive that so many of you in positions of leadership and from which you can influence change have taken time out of hectic schedules to attend. The ideas discussed and generated here will be used as we move through work to refresh the Equally Safe strategy in 2023. It is so important that the Equally Safe strategy is co-owned by the Scottish Government and COSLA and recognises the necessity of leadership from national and local governments together in order to deliver change. I've been asked to talk about collective leadership and collaborative action and its importance in addressing violence against women. I want to reflect for a moment on what this means. As I'm sure many of you will recognise, working collectively and collaboratively is about recognising and valuing the diverse skills and expertise of partners to tackle problems and implement solutions. It's a way of working that involves some sort of exchange for mutual advantage that ultimately benefits end users. And for me, I would say it also requires some humility and even vulnerability in the forging of those collaborative relationships. When we truly work collaboratively and show collective leadership, our thinking and action should be aligned through consensus building. And that collaborative spirit and collective enterprise is absolutely crucial here. Violence against women is a cross-cutting issue. It cannot be eradicated if it is left to one policy area or one agency to fix, with some perhaps saying, that's not my issue. A cross-cutting issue is one that must be considered in the round and should reflect contributions across a range of policy and practice to be appropriately addressed. While we are clear that violence against women is both a cause and consequence of women's unequal status in society, it is not just an equality issue. Let me illustrate this. A report by the Women's Support Project states that 75% of women who started selling themselves for sex did so when they were under 18. A Home Office study found that 70% of women in prostitution spent time in care. Countless reports highlight the violence and abuse, including rape and sexual violence, faced by those in prostitution. More still, link prostitution with poverty. If we consider just this one form of violence against women, prostitution, it's clear it is a child abuse and child protection issue and needs addressing by those involved in both policy and practice around safeguarding children. It links into care experiences and criminal justice, poverty and child poverty, employability and housing, health, including mental health. I'm sure you understand the point. But before I move on, I want to stress that it's not my issue. We have to recognise is still prevalent, still exists. A recent Scottish Government Commission piece of research flagged that many practitioners in the field did not see the connection, stating that they did not have women involved in prostitution in their caseload. And sadly, this simply cannot be true. Women involved in selling sex, just like social workers, health professionals, and civil servants, need somewhere to live and require medical attention. Their children need an education. Survivors of all forms of violence against women are among us. They use the services we do. They need our joined-up collaborative action to tackle the issues they face. Because victims, survivors often deal with a range of services, from health to housing to the justice system, it's crucial to stay alert to opportunities to join up our work to ensure that all are well supported throughout their journey, and that their information is appropriately and sensitively shared between the services that they need. For example, MARACS and other multi-agency risk assessment mechanisms have been shown to help reduce the vulnerability of victim survivors in high-risk cases of domestic abuse. This is because no single agency or service will have a full understanding of the life of a victim survivor. Together, however, they can build a fuller picture of the factors affecting their life, the level of risk, and how to mitigate that risk. So our collective efforts across those organisational boundaries are a necessity. During this 16 days, we've seen joined up approaches such as Monday's Spotlight session on housing, which looked at the role social landlords could play in responding to the needs of women and children experiencing domestic abuse, and another connecting in the mental health agenda. I've been encouraged to see this cross-cutting approach progressing within the Scottish Government. For example, we've established an internal forum for policy officials whose policies touch on violence against women and girls to share ideas as they emerge and to enable the development of joined-up policy. I hope that this will prove that we can move beyond talking the talk to walking the walk, because getting our approach to violence against women and girls right has the power to change lives and society. Across our organisations, we all need to ensure that this aim and the needs of victim survivors are given equal footing to other priorities and reflected in policy, guidance and planning, and promote a culture change within our organisations so that all staff see responses to violence against women and girls as a priority, not simply as someone else's area, but as something we can all contribute to, that we understand that long-standing persistent inequalities are the fundamental cause. For frontline staff, this can mean being able to spot signs of violence and abuse and being able to support and signpost victims, survivors to specialist services in a sensitive, trauma-informed way. We don't need all to become experts, but we do all need to aim for that core level of awareness. Training is a vital part of this, including taking all opportunities to include violence against women and girls material in training dedicated to other subjects, such as those supporting those with disabilities or substance use issues. This is what mainstreaming means. Besides developing our understanding and prioritising efforts against violence against women and girls within our individual organisations, we need to keep developing links and partnerships across different agencies and policy areas. I've already mentioned the difference that multi-agency working can make in frontline services. At a more strategic level, across different stakeholders, local government and Scottish Government, this means being alert through effective and regular coordination with others to where we can link in with other policies and build on existing knowledge, and being alert to how we can avoid duplicating efforts between different areas, a risk which increases the more siloed our working is. Let me share an example of a true collaborative effort to address violence against women, the work around the implementation of the Domestic Abuse Scotland Act 2018, which came into force in April 2019. This will be very evident to many of you. It brought the law further in line with the lived experience of survivors by criminalising coercively controlling behaviours. This would not have come about were it not for collaborative action. It was survivors, their advocates, academics, those in the criminal justice system, and policymakers aligning their knowledge to create something groundbreaking. A wealth of training was developed and implemented to raise awareness and skills levels. This included extensive training carried out by Save Lives with Police Scotland, Scottish Women's Aid's work to develop materials and train workers within local women's aid groups and other victim support organisations, training undertaken through the Crown Office for prosecutors and the Judicial Institute, and a wealth of activity through Violence Against Women and Girls partnerships. Publications and briefings were developed to alert practitioners to the implications for child protection, and the introduction of the Act was used as a lever to refresh local training. And it did not end there. It was vital to raise public awareness, so a campaign on domestic abuse was run when the Act was introduced. Again, collective action and drawing on diverse expertise ensured the messages resonated as they should. This level of cross-cutting activity needs to be replicated across all the work we do, and we need to ensure that we're clear that women and girls are not a homogeneous group. We need to ensure that we're building an intersectional approach into the very fabric of our work. So we all need to commit and dedicate energy to championing efforts against violence against women and girls, to growing our understanding and to building relationships and partnerships. And this calls for curiosity about what other work streams or policies are in place to address violence against women and girls, and spotting where there is potential for us to contribute or build on existing knowledge. For our part, we in Scottish Government must strive to take account of work going on across Scotland and of the perspectives of stakeholders and the experience of victim survivors. We will follow this collective, collaborative approach in the work we'll be taking forward to refresh the Equally Safe strategy next year. We're facing a daunting set of challenges in our work to root out violence against women and girls. The impact of the pandemic and the cost crisis means that victim survivors are more vulnerable. Services are stretched with staff facing burnout. Frontline organisations are dealing with recruitment difficulties and a tighter funding situation. Despite these challenges, I see opportunities to strengthen our collaborative work to tackle violence against women and girls. If anything, the challenges make it more important than ever, so we can ensure our work has the greatest possible effect. I understand Fiona Drewy, who is speaking after me, will build on why it's crucial for us to maintain and redouble our efforts. I know there's a broad range of delegates present today, such as from key areas in community planning. This breadth shows the strength of buy-in across local government, health boards, the third sector, as well as Scottish Government, to developing collective leadership and collaborative action to tackle and eradicate violence against women and girls, to showing leadership within our organisations, to continue building our partnerships and making sure our policies and work align, so that the vision of a Scotland free of violence against women and girls can become a reality. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good day.